She loved mornings before the world woke up. The quiet streets, the soft light of sunrise, the steady rhythm of her feet hitting the ground. Running was not a hobby for her. It was how she breathed. It was how she felt strong. It was how she felt free. She lived in a small American town where people knew her as the woman who never quit. She ran before work. She ran after work. She ran when life felt heavy. And she ran when life felt joyful. Every mile gave her clarity. Every step reminded her that her body was powerful. She worked a normal job, paid her bills, smiled at strangers, and chased simple dreams. She wanted to run a full marathon one day, not for fame, not for medals, but to prove something to herself, that discipline and patience could carry a person anywhere. Her life was ordinary, but meaningful. She believed effort always paid off. She believed pain was temporary, and she believed tomorrow was always something to look forward to. On weekends, she trained longer. She watched the city wake up while she moved through it. She felt invisible and unstoppable at the same time. Her legs were strong. Her lungs were full. Her heart trusted her body completely. She never imagined that trust could be broken. There was nothing special about that day. No warning, no strange feeling, just another morning, another drive, another plan for the future. She got into her car, thinking about her next race, thinking about groceries, thinking about nothing important at all. Life felt stable, predictable, safe. She did not know that in a few moments, everything she believed about strength would be rewritten. The road was familiar. She had driven it hundreds of times. Traffic moved normally. Music played softly. Her hands rested easily on the steering wheel. Then everything changed. A sudden sound, a violent impact, metal folding into metal, glass exploding into the air, her body thrown forward and then back. Time slowed. Noise vanished. And then there was silence. When she opened her eyes, the world felt wrong. The air smelled sharp. Her chest hurt. Her head rang. She tried to move. She tried to sit up. She tried to feel her legs. Nothing happened. Panic rushed through her body. Not screaming panic, but cold, heavy panic, the kind that settles deep in the stomach. She called out for help. Her voice sounded far away, even to her own ears. People surrounded the car. Faces blurred, voices overlapped. Hands tried to keep her still. Someone told her not to move. Someone said help was coming. Someone held her hand. She kept asking the same question. Why can I not feel my legs? No one answered. The ambulance ride felt endless. Lights flashed above her. Sirens screamed, and she stared at the ceiling, trying to stay awake. Her thoughts raced. This must be shock. This will pass. I will stand up soon. She told herself not to be afraid. She told herself she was strong. She told herself she had run through pain before. This was just another challenge. At the hospital, doctors moved quickly. They asked questions. They ran tests. They spoke in serious voices. She watched their faces, searching for reassurance, looking for a smile, looking for hope, but she saw none. When the doctor finally spoke to her clearly, his words landed slowly, carefully, like something fragile and dangerous. Severe spinal injury, loss of sensation, uncertain future. She listened without fully understanding. Her mind refused to accept the meaning behind the words. She asked one question: "Will I walk again?" The room felt very quiet. The doctor looked at her with kindness and honesty. He told her that the damage was serious, that recovery would be difficult, that walking again was unlikely. Those words entered her body heavier than the crash itself. Unlikely. She repeated it in her head. Unlikely. 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 She felt something break inside her, something deeper than bone. Running had always been her escape, her strength, her identity, and now she was being told that even walking might never return. Tears fell silently, not dramatic, not loud, just steady. She stared at her legs. They looked the same, but they felt like they no longer belonged to her. Her mind went back to mornings on empty streets, to the sound of her breath, to the feeling of movement. It all felt like another life, a life that belonged to someone else. Family arrived, friends came. They spoke words of comfort. They promised support. She nodded, she smiled weakly, but inside she felt hollow. The hospital room became her world. White walls, beeping machines, endless hours. She watched the sun rise and set through a small window, each day blending into the next. Doctors continued to speak carefully. Therapists talked about adjustments. Nurses encouraged patience. But every night when the room grew quiet, her thoughts grew loud. Who am I if I cannot move? Who am I if I cannot run? What is left of me? Fear settled into her chest. Not fear of pain, but fear of a future she did not recognize. She imagined watching races instead of running them. She imagined needing help for simple things. She imagined being defined by what she lost. And that thought terrified her more than anything. Still, she did not know yet that this was only the beginning. She did not know how deep the darkness would go, and she did not know how strong she would have to become. At that moment, all she knew was this: her old life had ended, and she had no idea how to begin again. The days after the diagnosis moved slowly. Morning blended into night. Night blended back into morning. Time felt thick and heavy. She stayed in the hospital bed staring at the ceiling, listening to machines, listening to footsteps in the hallway. Every sound reminded her that she was still there, still breathing, still alive. But alive felt different now. Her body no longer obeyed her. Her legs remained silent. No response, no strength, no feeling. Doctors continued their rounds. They explained procedures. They explained therapy. They explained limits. She nodded. She listened. But inside, her mind refused to settle. She felt anger rising. Anger at the road. Anger at the car. Anger at her own body. Why this happened did not matter. Nothing could change it. Physical therapists came into her room. They spoke gently. They encouraged small movements. They celebrated tiny progress, lifting an arm, rolling to one side, sitting upright with support. Each movement took effort. Each movement left her exhausted. She remembered running miles without thinking. Now, sitting upright felt like climbing a mountain. Frustration built quietly, not explosive, but constant. She hated needing help, hated the weakness, hated the looks of concern. She saw pity in people's eyes, even when they tried to hide it. Her family tried to stay positive. They told her to stay strong. They told her she was a fighter. But strength felt far away. At night, when visitors left, when lights dimmed, when silence returned, her thoughts attacked her. She imagined her running shoes sitting unused. She imagined trails she would never touch again. She imagined her body trapped forever. Tears came easily then, hot and uncontrollable. She cried for the life she lost. She cried for the woman she used to be. She cried for the future she had imagined. Some days she refused therapy. She turned her face away. She closed her eyes. Giving up felt easier than hoping. Hope hurt. Hope reminded her of everything she could not have. One afternoon, a nurse adjusted her blankets. She spoke softly. She had seen many patients like her. The nurse told her recovery was not a straight path. Some days would be dark. Some days would be darker. But survival meant staying present. Those words stayed with her. Present. Not future, not past, just now. She began to focus on small things: the warmth of sunlight through the window, the sound of birds outside, the feeling of air on her skin. These moments grounded her. Rehabilitation became routine. hard, painful, repetitive. She learned how to transfer from bed to chair, how to balance, how to rely on muscles she had never noticed before. Progress was slow, almost invisible. There were days she felt nothing had changed, days she felt she was failing. But then there were moments, tiny moments, a twitch, a faint sensation, a flicker of movement. Doctors told her not to read too much into it. They warned her against false hope. Still, her heart noticed. She did not tell anyone. She kept it to herself. She feared disappointment more than pain. As weeks passed, she left the hospital. She entered a rehabilitation center. This place felt different. It was filled with others fighting battles of their own, people learning to speak again, people learning to use their hands, people learning to live again. She saw strength in them, strength she did not yet see in herself. One woman smiled at her every morning. That smile carried no pity, only understanding. That mattered. She began to push herself again, not for recovery, but for dignity. She wanted control over something. Every session left her exhausted. Sweat soaked her clothes. Her muscles burned. Pain returned. A different kind of pain. Pain that meant effort. Pain that meant work. At night, she slept deeply, dreaming of movement, dreaming of speed. Waking up hurt. Reality always arrived too quickly. Months passed. Seasons changed outside the windows. She watched leaves fall, snow cover the ground, and spring begin again. Still, she remained in recovery. Doctors continued to repeat their assessments. Walking remained unlikely. Those words never softened. She stopped asking, stopped hoping out loud. But something inside her had shifted. Not optimism, not belief, determination. She began to think differently. If I cannot run, I will still move. If I cannot move freely, I will still try. She did not know where this path would lead. She did not know how far she could go. But she knew one thing. She was still here, and being here meant something. The rehabilitation center slowly became familiar. The hallways, the routine, this smell of disinfectant mixed with determination. She no longer counted days. She measured time by effort. Morning therapy, afternoon therapy, evening exhaustion. Her body ached constantly, but she stopped seeing pain as the enemy. Pain meant she was trying. Pain meant she was still fighting. The therapists pushed her carefully. They believed in safety. They believed in limits. But she believed in effort. Every session, she asked for one more repetition, one more attempt, one more moment. Some therapists encouraged her. Others warned her. They reminded her of medical reality. They reminded her of permanent damage. She listened, but she did not absorb their doubt. Inside her, something stubborn had awakened. She began strengthening her upper body. Her arms grew stronger. Her shoulders burned. Her core trembled. Sweat dripped down her face. Her breath came fast. She remembered that feeling, the familiar burn of work, the familiar satisfaction of effort. It felt like running without moving. One afternoon during therapy, she felt something unexpected. Pressure, not pain, not imagination. Pressure in her thigh. Her breath stopped. She stayed still, afraid to disturb the moment. The therapist asked if she was okay. She nodded, but inside her heart raced. Was it real, or was it hope playing tricks? She did not celebrate. She did not tell anyone. She feared disappointment. Over the next weeks, the sensations returned, faint, unreliable. Sometimes they vanished. Sometimes they surprised her. Doctors explained nerves heal unpredictably. Sometimes they do not heal at all. She accepted uncertainty, but she continued working. Outside the rehabilitation center, life moved on. Cars passed. People ran on sidewalks. She watched them through windows. Sometimes sadness returned. heavy and sudden. She allowed herself to feel it. Then she returned to work. Her family visited often. They brought encouragement. They brought memories. She asked them to stop telling stories about the past, not because it hurt, but because it distracted her. She needed focus. She needed to live forward. Months passed. Her body changed. Muscles strengthened. Balance improved. Coordination returned slowly, not in her legs, but in her control. She learned to stand with support, not weight-bearing, just balance. Standing again felt unreal. The room looked different from above. The world felt closer. She cried quietly, not from sadness, but from gratitude. Therapists watched carefully. They monitored her closely. They said standing did not mean walking. They warned her again. She accepted their caution, but something powerful had happened. She had stood. Standing became part of her routine. Seconds turned into minutes. Her legs remained weak, unreliable, but she did not give up. One night, she dreamed she was running. Not fast, not far, just moving. She woke up smiling. The next day, she asked about walking devices, braces, supports. Doctors hesitated. They explained risks. They explained disappointment. She asked anyway. Eventually, they agreed to try. The first attempt was terrifying. Her body shook. Her legs trembled. 2 therapists supported her. Her hands gripped parallel bars. She placed one foot forward, then another. The movement felt foreign, awkward, but it was movement. She took 3 steps, then collapsed into the chair exhausted. Her heart pounded, her vision blurred, but she laughed. That laugh surprised everyone. Walking did not come easily. Some days she regressed. Some days her legs refused to cooperate. She fell, she bruised, she cried, but she returned again and again. Her progress remained slow, but it existed. Doctors adjusted their language from unlikely to difficult to uncertain. That shift mattered. She did not tell anyone her secret goal. She did not speak it aloud. But every time she trained, every time she stood, every time she walked a few steps, she pictured a finish line. Not a medical goal, not independence, a marathon finish line. She did not believe it yet, but she imagined it. The idea felt impossible, almost ridiculous, but imagination gave her direction. Weeks turned into a year. She left the rehabilitation center. She returned home. Home felt unfamiliar. Stairs, doorways, simple tasks. Everything required planning, but she adapted. She continued therapy, daily, relentless. She walked with braces, with supports, with fear, but she walked. People stared. People whispered. Some encouraged. She ignored them all. Her body slowly responded, not fully, not perfectly, but enough. She tracked progress quietly, seconds standing, steps taken. She celebrated privately. The woman who once measured life in miles now measured it in steps. Yet something was returning, not speed, not freedom, confidence. She no longer felt trapped. She felt challenged, and challenges were familiar. She did not know how far this journey would go. She did not know what her body would allow, but she knew this: she was no longer only surviving, she was rebuilding. Recovery outside the rehabilitation center felt lonelier. There were no shared hallways, no others fighting beside her, just quiet rooms and long hours. She created her own routine: morning stretches, strength work, walking practice. Every movement required concentration. Nothing happened automatically. She fell often, not dramatic falls, slow losses of balance. Each fall bruised her body, but tested her mind more. Fear whispered, "You are not ready. You are pushing too far." She answered fear with repetition, again and again. Her physical therapist encouraged progress, but warned against obsession. She listened politely, then continued. She remembered how training felt before: consistency, patience, discipline. Those principles had not changed. Her legs remained weak, one side stronger than the other, coordination unreliable, but endurance returned, slowly. She could stand longer, walk farther, rest less. Neighbors noticed. They waved, they asked questions. She kept answers short. She did not want sympathy. She wanted space. One morning, she stepped outside alone. No therapist, no family, just her and the sidewalk. The air felt cool, the ground uneven. She held a walking aid, her grip tight. Each step demanded focus. Cars passed, people walked by. She felt exposed, vulnerable, but she kept going. 10 steps, 20. Her heart raced, not from effort, from fear. She reached the end of the block and stopped. Her legs shook violently, her arms burned. She turned back. That walk changed something. The world was no longer behind glass, it was around her. She began walking outside daily, short distances, slow pace. Some days she returned exhausted, other days she surprised herself. Weather challenged her. Rain, cold, heat. She trained anyway. Her body adapted. Muscles responded. Nerves remained unpredictable. Some days sensation faded. Other days it returned. She accepted inconsistency. Progress was not linear. She tracked improvements in a notebook. Steps, distance, time. Numbers motivated her. One evening, she watched a marathon on television. Runners crossed the finish line crying, laughing, collapsing. Her chest tightened. She did not feel sadness. She felt longing. She turned off the television, sat quietly. That night, she made a decision. Not a promise, not a declaration, a direction. She would train like an athlete again. Not to run, not yet, but to prepare. She researched adaptive sports, assistive devices, training methods. Information filled her days. She adjusted her diet, focused on recovery, hydration, rest. Her body responded better. She added resistance training, balance drills, endurance work. Her therapist noticed changes: improved posture, improved control. They remained cautious, but their surprise showed. Months passed. Her walking aid changed, from heavy support to lighter assistance. Freedom increased. She walked through parks, along quiet trails. She remembered how running once felt, and compared it. This was different, slower, harder, but meaningful. One afternoon, she removed her walking aid indoors, just for a moment. She stood unsupported. Her legs trembled, her breath held. She took one step, then another. She grabbed the wall, heart pounding. She had walked alone. She laughed, then cried, not loudly, just quietly. She did not tell anyone immediately. She wanted to repeat it first. Days later, she walked several steps unsupported again. Consistency mattered. Her confidence grew. Not arrogance, belief. Belief in effort. She set small goals. Walk across a room, walk down a hallway, walk outside without aid. Each goal demanded weeks, but she met them. Her physical therapist adjusted expectations. They spoke differently now. Possible, achievable. Those words carried weight. She began light jogging drills in water. The pool supported her body, reduced impact. Movement felt closer to memory. Her legs moved rhythmically, slowly. She smiled underwater. That sensation reignited something deep. She began dreaming of motion again. One morning she awoke with clarity. Not fantasy, not denial, but purpose. She would attempt a race one day. Not immediately, not recklessly, but intentionally. She shared the thought with her therapist. Their reaction was serious. They asked questions. They assessed risks. They did not laugh. That mattered.
Training intensified. Carefully, gradually, she followed every instruction, every warning. Her body endured. Weeks turned into months, months into another year. She walked confidently now, slow but steady. Her posture improved, her stride strengthened. Strangers no longer stared. They passed her unaware. Normalcy returned, yet she carried something invisible, determination forged in struggle. She registered for a local charity walk, short distance. Crossing that finish line felt monumental. Applause filled the air. She smiled modestly. Inside, she felt fire. She was not done. She rested briefly, then returned to training. Her body had limits, but her will expanded. The idea that once felt ridiculous now felt distant but real. A marathon. Not speed, not competition. Completion. She knew the path ahead would be brutal, uncertain, long, but she had walked out of impossible before. She no longer asked if she could, she asked how.
Training for something bigger changed everything. Her days gained structure again. Purpose filled the hours. She was no longer just recovering, she was preparing. She woke early, not because she had to, but because her mind demanded it. Morning light filled the room as she stretched carefully. Her body felt stiff, sometimes uncooperative, but she welcomed the discomfort. It meant she was alive. It meant she was working. Her training was slow, deliberate, measured. Short walks turned into longer distances. Breaks were frequent. Patience essential. Some days her legs responded with strength. Other days they resisted completely. She learned not to panic. Bad days were not failure. They were information. She adjusted. She adapted. Her physical therapist became part of her plan. They monitored progress, adjusted routines, protected her from injury. Trust formed. She added endurance sessions, long walks on flat paths, then gentle inclines. Hills humbled her. Her legs shook, her breathing labored, but she climbed them anyway. Not quickly, not gracefully, but fully. She wore braces at first, then lighter supports. Freedom increased gradually. Water training continued. She jogged in the pool, focused on rhythm. Movement began to feel familiar again. Her heart remembered. She studied marathon training plans, not to follow them directly, but to understand structure, mileage, recovery, nutrition. She built her own version. Weeks passed. Her distance increased. 5 miles walking felt impossible at first, then manageable, then routine. Her feet blistered. Her muscles protested. She cared for her body carefully. Ice, rest, stretching. She listened. Pain signaled warning. Fatigue signaled growth. She learned the difference. Emotionally, the journey was heavy. Fear resurfaced often. What if she injures herself? What if progress stops? What if she fails publicly? She acknowledged fear, then continued anyway. One afternoon, she met another runner on a trail. He slowed, encouraged. His kindness surprised her. She thanked him, then moved forward. She did not explain. She did not need to. Her confidence grew quietly. She registered for longer events, 10-mile walks, half-distance challenges. Each registration terrified her. Each completion strengthened her. Crossing finish lines changed her posture, changed how she saw herself. She was no longer a patient. She was an athlete in training. Her body still carried damage, but it no longer defined her limits. Doctors monitored her closely. They remained cautious, but their concern softened. They spoke of strength, of adaptation, words once absent. Her family worried. They voiced fear. She reassured them gently, not with promises, but with consistency. They watched her train, watched her endure. Their doubt turned into respect. One morning she attempted light jogging on solid ground. Only a few seconds. Her legs responded clumsily, her balance shaky, but she did not fall. She stopped immediately, heart racing. That moment mattered.
Jogging returned slowly, seconds at a time, then minutes, never continuous, always careful. She alternated walking and jogging. Her body tolerated it. Her spirits soared. She remembered speed, not actual speed, but sensation. Freedom flickered. Training days were long, some lonely, some empowering. Music carried her. Silence challenged her. She trained in all weather. Cold mornings, hot afternoons, discomfort became familiar. Her body adapted again. Muscles strengthened. Coordination improved. She documented everything: distance, time, how she felt. Patterns emerged. She rested strategically, avoided overtraining. Wisdom guided her effort now. She no longer chased pain. She chased consistency. One evening, she sat quietly reviewing progress. Numbers shocked her. She had walked and jogged distances she once believed impossible. Her mind struggled to accept it. The goal she once kept secret now demanded honesty. She spoke it aloud alone. "I will finish a marathon." Saying it did not feel dangerous anymore. It felt grounded. She researched marathons, time limits, accessibility. She selected one carefully, a full marathon, months away. Enough time, enough risk. She registered. Confirmation arrived. Her hands shook. Fear and excitement blended. There was no turning back now. Training intensified further. Structured, focused. Her body responded under pressure, sometimes breaking, then rebuilding. She faced setbacks, minor injuries, inflammation. She adjusted again. Giving up never entered her mind, only recalculating. Her therapist warned her often. She listened, then continued responsibly. Her discipline deepened. Every step carried memory of hospital ceilings, of silence, of doubt. Those memories fueled her. She trained not to prove doctors wrong, not to impress strangers. She trained to honor survival. The marathon was no longer just a race. It was a conversation with her past, and she intended to finish it.
The months leading to the marathon tested her more than any injury ever had. Training reached its peak. Distance increased. Recovery shortened. Her body felt heavy most mornings, muscles stiff, joints sore. But her mind stayed steady. She followed her plan carefully. Long training days, short recovery days. Every session had purpose. Some runs were strong, others miserable. She accepted both. Fear visited often now. Not fear of pain, but fear of collapse. What if her legs failed mid-race? What if she could not finish? What if everything stopped again? She did not push fear away. She walked beside it. Her support system grew. Friends checked in. Family adjusted schedules. They no longer questioned her goal. They prepared to support it. Doctors performed final evaluations, tests, scans, assessments. Results were cautious but acceptable. They approved participation with conditions: pacing, monitoring, rest. She accepted every condition. This was not rebellion. This was responsibility. Race day approached. The date circled on her calendar. She tapered training, reduced volume, focused on rest. Her body welcomed the break. Her mind grew restless. She visualized the course. Not speed, not crowds, completion. She prepared equipment carefully. Shoes tested, braces adjusted, clothing chosen for comfort. Nothing left to chance. The night before the marathon, sleep was shallow. Thoughts raced. Hospital rooms, parallel bars, first steps. Memories surfaced uninvited. She breathed deeply, centered herself. Morning arrived. The air felt electric, cold and sharp. She stood among thousands, different paces, different reasons. Her body felt fragile, yet powerful. At the starting line, she felt calm, unexpectedly calm. The horn sounded. She began slowly, deliberately, walking first, warming muscles, allowing nerves to wake. Crowds cheered, music played. She stayed inward. Mile after mile passed. Slowly, she alternated walking and jogging, just as she'd trained. Her body responded well initially. Muscles warmed, coordination held. She focused on form, breathing, posture. 10 miles passed. Fatigue arrived early, heavier than expected. Her legs trembled, her back tightened. She slowed further. Volunteers offered water, encouragement. She accepted both. Halfway approached. Doubt whispered again, "You are not built for this." She answered with memory. She remembered hospital silence, doctor's words. Unlikely. Those memories carried power. She continued. Miles blurred together. Time stretched. Pain deepened. Not sharp, but exhausting. Her steps shortened. Her breathing labored. She adjusted pacing again. Crowds thinned. Runners spread out. Isolation settled. This was familiar. She had trained alone. Her body surprised her, holding, adapting. Mile 20 arrived. The wall. Famous, feared. Her legs screamed. Her mind fogged. She slowed to walking only. Each step demanded effort. She considered stopping, briefly, then dismissed it. Stopping was a decision. Continuing was instinct. She leaned into training, into discipline. She spoke to herself quietly, one step, then another. Volunteers noticed her struggle. They offered medical support. She declined politely. She knew her body. Time lost meaning. Only movement mattered. Mile 22. She cried. Tears fell freely. Not from pain, from recognition. She was still moving. The impossible was unfolding. Her pace was slow, but forward. Her body shook. Her arms ached. She refused to look at distance remaining. She focused on rhythm. Step, breath, step. Her mind returned to those early days, lying still, unable to move. That memory fueled her legs. Mile 25. Crowds returned, cheering louder. Some noticed her gait, her braces. They cheered harder. Their voices carried her. She felt seen, not pitied, recognized. Her heart swelled. The final mile approached. Exhaustion peaked, but hope rose. She straightened her posture, lifted her head. The finish line existed now, not imagined. She could see it. Her body threatened to collapse, but did not. She slowed further, preserving balance. Every step was intentional. She crossed into the final stretch. Lights, music, voices. She moved through them. Time did not matter. Position did not matter. Only completion. She was almost there. The finish line was visible now. A ribbon stretched across the path. Volunteers held signs. Crowds cheered louder than ever. Her legs shook violently. Her lungs burned. Her arms trembled. She had never been this exhausted, never pushed this far. Her mind repeated one word: finish. Each step was deliberate, not fast, not graceful, but steady. She remembered the early days: hospital bed, silent room, paralyzed legs. She had doubted. She had cried. She had feared. Now every step erased the memory, not completely, but enough to feel triumph. Her breath was ragged, chest heaving, vision blurred. She refused to stop. The crowd roared. They noticed her struggle. Some shouted encouragement. She ignored them. Their voices carried her but did not guide her. Her body trembled more, almost falling multiple times. She leaned slightly into her inner strength, mind focused, will sharpened. Her heart remembered running freely before the accident, before the crash, before paralysis. She had longed for this sensation, not speed, not competition, just motion. Each footfall spoke resilience. Each movement screamed determination. Mile 26 arrived. Almost there. Her legs screamed betrayal. Her balance wavered. She nearly collapsed. Then she imagined the moment, crossing the finish line. No assistance, no aid, just her strength and effort. She straightened her back, lifted her head. took one deliberate step, then another. The ribbon was just ahead, the crowds cheering louder, clapping, shouting. She slowed deliberately, savoring the moment, feeling every step. She raised her arms instinctively, not because of victory, but because she could. She crossed the line. A wave of emotion overwhelmed her. Tears streamed. Her body trembled uncontrollably. She laughed quietly. Exhaustion mingled with elation. Pain mingled with pride. She could barely stand, but she stood. No one handed her a medal. No one carried her. She was upright, independent, complete. Volunteers and spectators surrounded her. Some whispered congratulations. Some clapped. Some cried silently with her. She did not care about any of it. She felt a satisfaction deeper than applause. She had defied prediction, defied limitation, defied doubt. Her body remained imperfect, still trembling, still sore, but she moved, unaided, fully conscious of every ache. The marathon had been a distant dream. Now it was real. She sank onto the ground briefly, breathing deeply, absorbing the reality. Her mind raced with memory. Hospital rooms, rehabilitation centers, falls, tears, pain, disappointment. It all led here. Her hands touched her legs, unbelieving, grateful. She whispered quietly, "I did it." Not to prove anyone wrong, not to inspire strangers, but to honor her own struggle. Friends and family rushed to her. They hugged, they smiled, they cried. She smiled through tears, grateful but composed. The moment remained hers, private yet shared. She reflected on how far she had come, from impossibility to completion, from fear to courage, from paralysis to motion. Her journey had been brutal, exhausting, sometimes lonely, but nothing compared to this triumph. Tears continued, not from sadness, but recognition of strength, of persistence, of unwavering will. The finish line was more than a ribbon. It was a symbol, a statement, a personal victory. She stood, exhausted but complete. She had turned doubt into determination, pain into purpose, loss into movement. She had walked into the impossible and emerged victorious. Crossing the finish line changed everything. Not immediately in her legs, not immediately in her life, but within her mind, within her heart. She had proved something, not to the world, not to the doctors, not to strangers. She had proved to herself. Her legs were still imperfect, her balance was still fragile, fatigue lingered, pain persisted, but she no longer saw it as weakness. It was evidence, evidence of effort, evidence of survival, evidence of resilience. Family surrounded her, friends cheered, some cried silently. She acknowledged them all, but kept the victory personal. She remembered every step of the journey, the silent hospital rooms, the parallel bars, the rehabilitation center, the endless repetition, the falls, the tears, the fear. All of it had led here. Each moment had meaning. She sat on the grass after the race, breathing slowly, feeling the warmth of the sun on her face, feeling the beating of her heart, feeling the fire in her body. She smiled quietly. No words could capture the depth of what she felt. She thought about the morning she was told she would never walk again, how hopeless she had felt, how she had stared at her motionless legs, how she had doubted everything. And now here she was, walking, running, crossing a marathon finish line. Her body moved deliberately, but her mind soared. She realized strength was not just physical, it was mental, it was emotional, it was spiritual. The finish line had never been about a medal, it had been about proving that persistence could overcome impossibility. Her story became inspiration quietly, not by seeking attention, but by living it fully,
by walking it step by step, by refusing to quit. In the days that followed, she returned to training, not for fame, not for competition, but because movement had become her language, her connection to life, her proof that she could shape her destiny. People began to hear about her journey. Articles, social media posts, friends sharing her story. She accepted the attention calmly. She did not seek it, but allowed it to exist, knowing that perhaps it could help others. Seeing strength in her own struggle gave courage to others facing impossible odds. She spoke at small gatherings, sharing truth without exaggeration, sharing hope without false promises. Her message was simple: never underestimate what determination can do. Never give up on yourself, even when the world says impossible. She returned to her daily life, work, friends, family, routine, but she carried herself differently. Her posture reflected triumph, her confidence radiated quietly, her eyes carried fire. She continued training for future races, shorter runs, longer endurance, every step a reminder, every mile a celebration. The marathon was not the end, it was proof. Proof that she could endure, proof that she could overcome, proof that she could thrive. And so she lived, not defined by her injury, not constrained by limitations, but empowered by effort, by persistence, by courage. Her story spread slowly, quietly, powerfully. She became a symbol, a representation of what is possible when a person refuses to surrender. She had faced the impossible. She had stumbled. She had fallen. She had doubted. She had cried. And she had risen. Her life after the marathon was not perfect. It was real. It was human. It was full of challenges. But she faced each day knowing this truth: she could endure, she could adapt, she could overcome, and that knowledge carried her farther than any finish line ever could. She had walked through darkness and run into light. Her journey continued, always forward, always strong, always brave.